right, coming at you live from the lower bottoms of West Oakland. This is Soundwaves. Today, I have a special guest, an old friend. He hosts, or is one of the co-hosts on the Cage Against podcast, the Sweet MBA.
How you doing? I think you called me old friend because we've known each other for a long time, not because we're not. It's not that we're old.
Yes, it's because we've known each other
2 decades. We've
known each other since before Obama.
Before, man, hey,
we met in the Clinton years.
I was about to say before Clinton. Hey, we met when we thought it was going to be dull.
We've known each other for a minute.
That's some crazy things to say to your kids. Like, now you sound like your parents when you're like, yeah, I met this man during the first Iraq War.
Or you start remembering where you were during certain things.
Bro, yeah, and music is so great for that because it does that like nothing else.
I remember, and I'm sure you might be the same way. I remember when that's when you lost Single Drop by Souls of Mischief.
I'll do one better. I remember when the first time I saw it on the video jukebox.
Ooh.
And I wasn't even in the Bay Area. I was in Sacramento. I don't know if you knew this. My listeners have probably heard this, but yeah, for 10 years of my life, commuted between the Bay Area and Sacramento. So I lived with my father in Berkeley, Oakland border, Monday through Friday for school. And then Friday after school, I'd get on a Amtrak or Greyhound or whatever, and I'd go up to a town just north of Sacramento called Fair Oaks.
Mm-hmm. And
I'd spend all weekend there. And then 4 a.m. Monday, I'd get on the bus or train or whatever and come back to the Bay Area. So I'd spent all weekends, summers, or holidays with my mom in Sacramento. And at that time, 1983 to 1993, Sacramento, to put it bluntly, was probably where most people moved to get away from people like us. It's where a huge amount of the white flight out of the Bay Area happened. It still had a lot of people who had moved out of the South. And where I lived on, Sacramento, and you can look this up. Anyone can Google this. During that period of time, Sacramento was the skinhead capital of the United States. And I lived next to all of them.
I believe it because I remember that. I vaguely remember that Sac used to have some serious issues.
Yeah, and you remember, like, my rap was very militant. Everybody was talking about being a player and whatever. I was like, yeah, that's going to be I'm like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like,
it's got to reflect life.
You live in a fantasy world. Yeah, I was just like, that's fantasy music. Like, when you take that out to Walnut Creek and tell me if it jives. You know what I mean? That's not going to
exactly.
Work, so.
I do want to say to anyone that's listening, a big reason why I wanted to have this conversation with Sweet was we reconnected and spoke on a call for the first time in quite some time, and it was a call that I needed to have. Like I said, we've been friends for some time. We met in an era that I was a magical time for us in the Bay Area, especially when it came to just music in general. A lot of things, when you turn that Wayback Machine to the mid 90s, a lot of stuff was jumping out of the East Bay at that time, and hip hop and punk rock, like you wouldn't imagine, was coming out of the Bay.
And also, let's think of the other things that happened at the same time. I bet you didn't connect this. I'm trying to finish writing the book about this stuff.
Okay.
The working title is called Once Upon a Time in Berkeley. So if you think about what happened all at the same time, aside from our scene in hip hop, and we'll talk about this, you and I and our rap groups, when we weren't doing rap, we were going over to a small punk rock club off the street called Gilman and watching bands called Primus, Green Day, and Metallica, who were garage bands. And that affected our opinions on what we were going to do with hip hop. So in a lot of ways, we were having our own New York City, South Bronx, CBGB kind of experience in Berkeley, which was amazing. Then meanwhile, if you look at that same strip on Gilman, you go down, you look at Royal Robbins, REI, North Face, all that starting that whole, climb a mountain culture, right? Right?
Making it fashionable. Right? Yes.
Right. You go down San Pablo back towards Berkeley. On one side of the street, it's all martial arts schools, right? The other side, it's all yoga studios. And we know yoga becomes a very commercialized American concept out of Berkeley. The first time you'd ever seen any yoga outside of India was really in our culture. You see all these martial arts schools are challenging each other, and we know that later becomes MMA. And then meanwhile, in the streets, the big guys that are beefing, the Berkeley Computer Club is where Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs are coming out of, right? So you got that culture starting and Silicon Valley starting at the same time. And then over in North Berkeley, up the street from Gilman, you go up into Rose Street, and you have this little tiny coffee shop called Pete's. And then the general manager gets fired, and he moves to Seattle and starts something called Starbucks, right? Like the list goes, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
The list goes on and on, where you see this fertile ground of these dynamic tensions that turns into these global industries and cultural zeitgeists. And it was just happening all around us. And it's so easy to look back at it and say, wow, I was there and I saw it all. That was amazing.
It really was. Like, it was a time when a lot of guys that are, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say household names, but they're relatively successful. Like we all hung out. We all played shows. We did do you remember that place on College called Your Mama's Kitchen?
How could I not? That was Broadway. Let's be honest. Your Mama's Cafe. Let's be honest, brother. I'm a Berkeley, Oakland dude. We know where the border is. The border is Alcatraz. Your Mama's Cafe. And
Your Mama's Cafe.
Do you remember the fateful night when somebody went through the window?
I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like that, right.
Yes. I saw Saphir's album release party.
How ironic that you now live in West Oakland. Right. Well, no. That was the album listening party. The album release party was over at it was a listening party. The release party was at Leopold's. And I remember that's one of my strongest memories of you. You and your rap crew. I always feel like seminal albums, I always saw you guys show up. The Leopold album release party for Boxcar Sessions.
Yes.
Do you remember, and I'll date another one, 1995, okay?
Okay.
Liquid Swords and Soul Food came out on the same day.
I do remember that. I
walked out of Leopold's, and you guys were, like, I had both tapes, and you guys were right behind me, and then as soon as because there was a line, and then as soon as you walked out, I heard, all sold out. And it was like, I just knew. You know what I mean? Like, that was us.
I missed those days of, like, freestyling on Telegraph Avenue. Yeah, to a degree. To a degree,
I do. To a degree, I don't know, because for me, had I known then what I know now, there's things that I believe. How do I want to put this? Walt Liquor, Eclipse 427 and I talk about this all the time. Playing by invisible rules. Do you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm. Explain it.
Okay. So, back in the day, my name was Karma Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who came near us, I don't care where you are from, you could be the Dalai Lama. If you say your name is Karma, anything close to that, we're going after you, right?
It's on. Yeah, yes.
Don't be a biter, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now I look at the culture, and it's all about biting.
Yes.
So were we playing by invisible rules that didn't matter? Should we have been playing by those rules? How much money did we leave on the table?
Right? Okay, this is what I'll ask this question. Let me ask you this question to that point.
Sure.
There's something to be said about having to be original and having your originality tested by people that might be better than you, because there was no like age category. If we were 15, 16, then
Sure.
we were going up against grown ass men. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you had a record deal. It did
Sure, but
nothing matter. Go ahead.
Claiming that's built into the culture and that's a requirement of the culture, I think did a huge amount of damage.
Think so.
So you could be original for the sake of being original, right? But if we put your top 5 inspiring influencers of any type of art form or culture moving, we're going to find over and over again that they really actually borrowed from a generation before and repackaged it.
I dig that. I agree.
So then originality and expression becomes, I mean, it's bragging rights. You're holding your nuts, but is it functional? Then to sit there and say, like, as we believed, don't be a biter. Okay, like, here's this thing. And you know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Because we're from the Bay Area and we're from the West Coast, our belief was that you had to go off your head to win a battle.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That was true.
Then a battle happened on Cameo between Saphir and Casual, which was marketed as Hobo versus Hyro, and it wasn't really.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look back at that, I think that battle did more damage to our ecosystem than it did good.
Do you think it broke it up?
The area on the map in terms. I think it exposed a schism that we never healed from. And that schism, oof, I'm going to get in so much trouble for it, but it's facts. I think that Hobo Junction represented a working class, a very working class, abstract approach, hood, street level art form.
Yes.
Okay?
That's a very great analogy. Background. That's a very great description. Background. Yes.
And I would look, and so if we were going to try to find a New York equivalent at that time, and I'm struggling for it, I'm not sure I could find that.
I can't think of one.
Hieroglyphics, there's no removal of the middle class educated values that they had. Parents are lawyers and professors.
Yes.
Right? Which I'm also guilty of. The dirty secret about hip hop, we talk all this stuff about the projects. We talk about the amount of music that came out of Queens and how many people who made music in Queens, parents are educated and middle class.
Yeah.
Okay? So, Tribe Called Quest. Five Dog, his family was poor. Q-Tip, his parents are educated. How many times did Run DMC talk about going to college?
True, yeah.
So Queens is a very middle-class, black, high professional class. I got family there, right? I would even argue, and this is my thing I tell New Yorkers, I say, like, I'm from Berkeley, and Berkeley is the Queens. Berkeley and Albany and Emeryville are the Queens of the Bay Area, right? So the schism that it exposed was it sort of opened the door, and it made it okay to open the door for that schism to go farther, for people to say, if you're not saying what I want to hear, I don't have to listen to that type of music. So why would somebody who's listening to 3 Times Crazy even try to listen to our style of a little bit different thinking music anymore? And then those who continued with the Hyro movement, it opened a door for that sort of underground hip hop thing where it became less, the people who were in the audience looked less and less like me and you. You know what I mean?
That's where you know what, honestly.
And there's some responsibility I should take in that for the music I was selling through the internet. I have to be honest about where those tape sales were happening. So some part of it, I have to take ownership. But that schism and the fact that we all took sides, right? I don't know.
Yes.
Who did Native Tongues battle in the East Coast, right? Other than, I mean, Tribe Called Quest had beef with Rex and Effects. De La Soul was knocking people out all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The only equivalent, and I don't know. The only equivalent might be a Native Tongues versus. No, but then the Flavor Unit had hella Native Tongues people in it. It doesn't make any sense.
There was nothing like it. And you know what's funny that you bring up that battle? I was at my day gig that I was telling you about the other day.
Yeah.
And there's a cat that works with me, and he's 29 and into hip hop. And I was asking him if he knew about that battle. He knew who Hyro was. And I said, oh, there was this thing that happened where we all had to be by our radio at like 11 o'clock at night because it was the biggest deal in hip hop. And I'm telling him the story about, I'm telling him a story about how me and some other people that you and I know were in a car in the parking lot of Denny's in Emeryville, California, listening to this thing like, oh, because this shit went on forever. I think you can find it on the internet.
Yep.
And
it's still quotable. Regardless of how the people ended up. It's still quotable. There's still things in common conversation. Like, I'll have stuff with, like, Comedic Sons or members of my crew. Well, we'll be middle of the conversation, and I'll be like, I'll just say something like, you got a pissy-ass couch. Like, I just you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't relate to anything, but it was like, at the time, we were laughing out loud from both sides. Like, that's great. But the reason I brought it up, we were taught you have to go off the head. That's what we worked our athleticism at. Go off the head.
Yes.
Saphir came with writtens and won the show.
Yeah.
Both times. Okay? And that was and then it made you wonder, well, why did I spend all that time? So then later in life, you go to a battle. You know, I used to go to the battle leagues over in New York. You know, we know this. And I do stuff like with Orko, or, you know, I do stuff with Merce. And we'd go hard for our coast. And both of him would work to be really raw off the top of the head. And Merce is probably the best who ever did it. And then you go up against some New York rapper who just memorized his favorite 16s. Now you look at a common battle now, and these guys are just memorizing 64 bars talking about shooting each other. Why did I do that? Why did I build that skill? Yeah. I ask myself that all the time. Maybe it made me a very good coach. Maybe it made me a very good podcaster. Maybe it made me a good entrepreneur. Maybe it's made me an amazing public speaker. I don't know. But in terms of being, you know, working, like I always say this to people, like, I said to people a lot of times, I consider myself sort of the Hoist Gracie of battle rap. Not the biggest guy, but that's what, you know, because I'm smaller than everybody. They never saw me coming, and I would just destroy people in ciphers. And I could do it without hurting feelings, right?
I was intimidated by your hair. I'm not going to lie.
I was intimidated by my hair. Yeah. Right. And again, you remember, like, I was one of the few people who had dreadlocks, and then I would rap very erratically, and my hair would move like I was like sending daggers out. I was on some like Full Metal Alchemist. Long story short, you know, you win a belt, right?
Yes.
You win a belt. And I always think of this analogy. You can win a belt. Does anybody know? Does that belt matter anymore? Does the new generations even know who the Gracies are? They do jiu-jitsu, but you know what I mean? I'm just trying to think of those analogies.
No, I don't like, sometimes I will come across a battle rap video, and it's generally, I'm going to come across it because I'm so far removed from the culture at this point. Right, that if I come across it, it's probably because somebody got punched or something.
Right, facts. And let's be honest, we went looking for it. We were like, you know what? What's on this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Rapper gets punched in a battle. Click.
Hey,
absolutely.
I have fallen down some rabbit holes because of our mutual friend William Liu and rappers getting punched videos.
I get jumping. I jump down the rabbit holes. I've been on the internet longer than most people. I jump down them. I'm like, what's on World Star Hip Hop this month? Let's go.
I can't do it for too long because again, I remember back, and this is my old manish, and not to say one's better, and I'm not saying it was better in my day. It's just different, right? Things change. They're supposed to change. I remember when we would do it.
Say that again, please. Say that again.
Things change. They're supposed to change.
They're supposed to change. And that's what I keep trying to say to people. Like, if it didn't change, then you should be suspicious of the time you spent in hip hop. Because I remember when we were listening to it and dudes who were 10 years older than us were like, that's not going to be around tomorrow. That sounds terrible.
Yes.
And so whatever the new form is, let the young people have it. But if it sounds the same, we should be suspicious.
Yeah. That's how, yeah. When people always talk about, oh, these young guys, this ain't hip hop, I'm like, look, man, someone said that to me. Someone said that to me. That whatever I was doing wasn't the real deal because it wasn't what they were used to. So exactly. I'm not going to go shit on some kid I don't like.
100%.
If I don't like it, I don't like it.
But that's right. And or you know what? I'm more and more. I just don't get it. It's not for me. I just don't get it. That doesn't make it. I don't know if I can equate it if it's good or bad. Because you go back and you listen to some stuff and you're like, that was not. You called that a classic? That was not good. That was not good.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about a lot of that shit. Where I'll like walk in the room or I'll be at the show and it'll be going on and I'm like, oh, this is what's hot, huh? Okay, well, not for me.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm that's fine, sure. And even me, I'm not, I'm so removed from that. Or someone will play me something, and again, like, my brother-in-law, he and my little brothers from New Zealand, they love English rap, and they'll play me stuff. I was like, I was listening to Jungle and Grime and all that stuff before you. This is not fresh. This is African dudes pretending to be Jamaican with fake New York accents, rapping fast, but it's not good. But to them,
it's
that's
the bomb.
Amazing. It's the bomb. And I'm like, no. I'm going to go put on some Curtis Harding. Bye. You know what I mean?
Like my daughter's boyfriend, sometimes he'll tell me about like who he thinks is hard. Like we had a podcast, who's the big four of hip hop. And, there's a big four of thrash metal, Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth. Trying to figure out who the big four of hip hop is literally impossible because you have to do it by genre and era.
And even then, at a certain point, maybe we should stop. I've been talking about this, and Adisa hates when I say this. We should maybe stop using the term hip hop, knowing as much as we know that the things that we are, when we carry it on, we continue the mythology. And it's mythology, right?
Yeah.
So, to use an analogy, right? Like, if you went to 3000 BC Greece and you said, hey, so you study Greek mythology, huh? You're into Olympus. And they're like, the fuck are you talking? You know what I mean? They're like, yo, I'm trying to plant some crops. I hope it rains. I'm talking to Demeter. You know what I mean? Right?
Yes.
So those in the mythology don't know it's a mythology. There's a lot of lies we continue in hip hop. And the older we get, we see these lies and we shouldn't do it because it's damaging. Right? We talk this, the 4 elements. Yeah, that sounds good when someone's trying to get paid. That's not real. Graffiti writers were not hanging out with people like that. Most of those dudes who were doing graffiti were like art school heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're lying to yourself. DJs don't care about lyrics. You're lying to yourself. Maybe those battles were happening for a small amount of time. But a lot of those guys who were ending gang beefs using battles and all that stuff, over the test of time, they also did so much damage to young people. Like if the mascot of ending gang beef is an Africa Bambaataa and he has a long history of molesting kids, then we should stop. We should stop talking this mythology because the net effect is not good. So maybe it's not hip hop. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it was at that time. But how was that? And maybe in New York, we call it hip hop. Out here, we called it something a little bit different, right? Like you see, I think dancing was a little bit more honest with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you remember how when we grew up, every hood had their own turf dance?
Yes.
I think that's a lot of what the music was. So, Richmond started the mudslide. San Francisco had the sort of group organized popping, right? The strutting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe that was a term we used at the time, but it may not be accurate.
It's funny that you say that because it's true, because the circles were pretty different. Because I used to hang, a good friend of mine, I don't know if you know him too, Mikey Disco. He's a dancer.
Of course I know. Come on, bro. Of course I know Mikey Disco.
We actually I went to Salesians for 1 year. We went to Salesians together, and we kind of stayed tight.
Oh, okay.
And when I would hang with him back in the day, in that day, it was a whole different crowd of people that he would be around, right, compared to if we were hanging out. We weren't going to the same types of shows. It was literally like a different world with dancers.
I mean, come on, let's get even realer with it. We talk all this multiculturalism about hip hop brings people together. You hang out with Mikey Disco, he's got a mixed crew, right?
Yeah.
But then you hang out with some of his dancer friends, and they don't know a single black person.
Yeah. No.
And they don't let black people in their house. You know what I'm getting at? You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. We talk all that myth, and then it's like, oh, are you telling me if I come to your block party, there's a bunch of Filipinos invited? No, that's a myth. There are moments of that. But to say that this is representative of the culture is dishonest.
It was very, yeah. And the graffiti dudes, definitely, there was some intertwining, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't know if you know this. The first thing Buku 1 ever recorded was at Will's house.
I believe it. I mean, again, that's my point.
With Tame 1. Yeah.
That's what right.
And he was kind of, and he existed in his own world. Like, we definitely knew each other from school, but
right,
he did his own thing because he's a hell of a graffiti writer.
Right.
To this day.
Right. And then he had his graffiti crew, and a lot of the young guys I rolled with were part of his graffiti crew in Berkeley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again,
yeah.
There was always that thing, like Albany dudes are going to stick together, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then it's funny because I knew all the martial artists from Albany.
Did we have some?
Oh, I'm about to school you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Tyson Griffin, who owns the gym.
Oh, he does own a gym. Yeah.
That's the first dude from the Bay Area in the UFC. Well, okay. All right. Maybe, okay, let me step that back. The Shamrock brothers are from San Jose.
They are from San Jose, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. They are from San Jose. But when the UFC became about divisions and was spread out by weight, Tyson Griffin was the first lightweight contender.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
so
yeah.
So let me ask you this real quick.
And that's why for him, like, I would go to places, and when I was that's even my issue. Like, again, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have been a battle rapper. Maybe instead of, like, I always talk to Adisa about this. You know, you were there. Party, it's like 1:30, right?
Yeah.
And like everyone's trying to get girls' numbers. Where are you going, Karma? Oh, I got to train tomorrow morning. I got a tournament, right? I don't know, man. Maybe I should have left the party earlier and gone off and been a UFC champion. Knocked out Conor McGregor and took my millions. I don't know.
Fighting is something you've done since you were a younger man. Like,
yes,
preteen.
In some shape or form.
What did you watch the UFC before the Dana White years when it was like those bootleg VHSs?
I've watched every single UFC, and my family has been involved in the foundations of what has become MMA and the UFC. So let me give some background.
Okay.
Let's talk back to this hip hop mythology. In New York, they call it hip hop. At the same time, there's a bunch of BPMs, and Miami, they might call it booty shake. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
And it's easy to think that Two Live Crew came out of Florida, which my father is from. So I'm partially from Florida, and I used to spend summers there. But also, many of the music actually came out of San Jose, and a lot of people don't know that. Members
sense.
of Two Live Crew are actually, they're from San Jose, right? Because
one of them used to always rock like an A's hat. I can't remember which one. The one that passed away,
That's
I think.
Why.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. San Jose dude, right? Okay. Then if you take that same music aesthetic and you take the BPM and then you switch it over and you use 808s kits, you get the stuff that's going out in Atlanta. That was ghetto tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take it over to Fresno and LA, right? You got electrofunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with this? You take it over to England, it's called drum and bass, right?
Yeah.
So let's take that same idea and let's say that there are martial art techniques that you could see all over the world. You could see some technique thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago when classic Nubia influenced East Africa. The Nubians are probably the ones who are responsible for creating the Nile Valley civilization, which we now kind of think of as Egypt. We could see wrestling on their hieroglyphs and the techniques known as MMA. Those same techniques, the Greeks are going to steal, and they're going to call it Greco-Roman. Huh. You'll take some of those techniques, and you'll see it in Japan, a culture that had no contact with them, and it's called judo or jujitsu. These are primal concepts we could find all over the world. Do you follow me with that?
Yes.
So it's very dangerous to say one person created. But people have been fighting style versus style for years, and some of the earliest documented styles happens in early China, as a way to find the best styles to resist the British. And they would hold tournaments in Hong Kong, and it was called the Boxing Rebellion. And those tournaments were called Sancho. And that basically meant free play or freestyle, right? That's phase one. Phase two, after the communists clean out all the martial artists and ban them because they could fight back, they would hold those same tournaments on platforms called a Lei Tai. And that would happen in Taiwan. One of the earliest guys to win that tournament was a guy named, one of the first guys to win it from America was a guy named Peter Ralston. He had a school on Telegraph Avenue.
No shit.
Right across from White Horse Liquors for many years. First white man to win one of those tournaments.
That's not the guy they based, what's the name on? Bloodsport, right?
That's but even that Kumite tournament, right? That underground tournament, that's all Hollywood stuff. And they made it fighters from all over. These are mostly Chinese fighters. Japanese fighters didn't want to come over there. This thing's evolves. But what really is more important is Peter Ralston has a teacher. His teacher is a man by the name of Wong Jackman. And Wong Jackman comes to the Bay Area in the early 60s. And he's a child prodigy. I'm trying to think of the analogy of somebody who's just so ill from a young age in our culture that we would know. But he's sent from China to basically teach Chinese martial arts to non-Chinese. And in particular, he's really interested in teaching African Americans because he thinks if he teaches them Kung Fu, they can fight back against the Ku Klux Klan. And when he gets here, he's issued a challenge by a local martial artist by the name of Bruce Lee, who doesn't like the fact that he's teaching whites and black people. And the two have got them fight. This is a very controversial fight. Of course, the Bruce Lee side wants to say that he won. Okay? I'm obviously biased. My school comes out of Wong Jackman. And all this is documented, and they even made a movie about it later called Birth of a Dragon. I could send you some links.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
So that movie, my school helped make that movie. But Wong Jackman is basically the guy who taught everybody in all the black people in my family how to fight. Now, he's not a monk. He had a family. He had a daughter and everything, so he wasn't a monk. And he didn't come over here because he hurt somebody. But that fight is very close. And that's where you could see in that movie where MMA starts, right? Where he's like doing all these kicks and Bruce Lee doesn't know what to do with the kicks. or he'll grab Bruce Lee and then throw him away. He's using grappling, and Bruce Lee's like, I don't know. And he makes Bruce Lee change. And that's where MMA starts. So MMA actually started in the Bay Area. So that's phase 3. Phase 4, they have the tournament that start by the Gracie family to show how great the jiu-jitsu styles are. And that happens in 1993 in Vegas. And if you look at the history in the documentary of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, they said they made an octagon to style it after the old Chinese Sancho tournaments.
Really?
Yes. It's all documented. They wanted it because the octagon is a Chinese symbol. It's supposed to look like a lei tai.
I watched, not too long ago, last time we were talking, I watched 2 fighting shows and had nothing. I watched them independent of knowing I was going to talk to you. I watched the Diaz,
McGregor?
not Diaz. No, not Diaz McGregor. I watched, oh God, I'm losing his name. Chuck Liddell, and who was the other guy he always fought?
Tito Ortiz.
Okay, Chuck Liddell,
yes.
Tito Ortiz.
Tito and Chuck, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tito and Chuck.
Those are the new that's the template of how you sell fights. Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Turn best friends against each other. Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it?
And then I loved it. I chased that with, because I was falling down a fighting rabbit hole.
Did you catch Tito was where he was training?
Where was he training? Was it the Central Coast or was that up here?
Right. Well, no, that was Chuck. He's training down there. But if you look at where Tito's training, the guy he's training with, Tank Abbott, that crew, that's all San Jose stuff.
Uh-huh.
So he was first training under Frank Shamrock.
San Jose is a hell of a fight town.
It is.
Because Shamrock was in the documentary too. Yeah.
There, you see what, right? It becomes phase 5. Let's put it that way. Phase 4.
No, San Jose, it's crazy.
Yeah. Phase 4, I would give.
Go ahead.
On the San Pablo Strip. And what I mean by that, there used to be a fight school, a Taekwondo fight school on San Pablo Ave, right across from the cheese board, called Baker's. And it was a black-owned Taekwondo school. And they would have on Sunday open sparring. And there were no rules. It was like a concrete floor, and you would get every style in there. Every type of karate. Kung fu guys, jiu-jitsu guys, wrestlers. Everybody was trying stuff on each other. And that's where I think, so those guys who started leaving that and training there, and then there was a new generation of kids who were coming there, and that's where you're getting your Tysons, me, the Diaz brothers, Gilbert Melendez, Jake Shields. All those kids are seeing their styles, and they're starting to realize, I can't just be good with my hands. I can't just be grappling. I have to put them together. And they start taking their styles over to Ferritex, which was over on Clementine Street in San Francisco. Maybe, so think... I
remember that. No, I know the place you're talking about. I know where you're talking about.
Rest in peace, Alex Gong. So that kind of generation. And then as that's happening, the first actual MMA gym, dedicated training to MMA, the Shamrock brothers start in San Jose, California. That's phase 5. Phase 6, as the Shamrock brothers are just kind of beating each other up and all these guys start becoming champions, a gym starts near there and starts converting kickboxers and saying, can I teach kickboxers to wrestle, and can I teach wrestlers to kickbox? And that's AKA. And one of the first people to come out of there is BJ Penn, who is, in my opinion, I don't believe in GOAT in the same way hip-hop. I don't believe in the greatest of all time. I believe GOAT is a membership. It's like Hall of Fame. I think
I'm with you on that. I
think BJ Penn is one of the first to put it there. I'm trying to find the rap equivalent of BJ Penn, who is somebody who's so young and started and just put so many points on the board. Is he Nas? Yeah, he's Nas.
Yeah.
He's Nas. Not everything he did is great, but to be able to start so young and do so much and be so disruptive, that's who he is.
Who right now you're a boxing fan as well, correct?
You know, I got really tired of boxing because of the corruption, but the heavyweight division has really brought me back.
The heavyweight division is actually fun to watch right now.
Well,
for the first time in a while. For the first time in a while.
God, dude, Tyson Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Ruiz, all their stories, it moves my heart, man. It makes me want to watch.
Who
But I'm
do
really,
you like
I'm
watching?
really inspired by both Wilder and Fury, man. Like their stories really. I mean, Wilder. Well, first of all, Tyson Fury coming from training his whole life to beat the unbeatable Klitschko, winning and then falling into a suicidal depression drug binge, right? Yeah. And then gaining 200 pounds, going back to boxing, losing the pounds, fighting Wilder, the guy who knocks everybody out. This guy, Wilder's record 40-1. Like, fighting him to a draw, getting up like the Undertaker from that knockout, and then coming back and knocking out Wilder the next fight. Like, it's proof is in the pudding. If you commit yourself to discipline, you can overcome any sense of depression. I'm so inspired by that. I'm so moved by that. And I feel like so much of our community needs to hear that. You know what I mean? Less time turning up, less time in the club, put down the vape, less pills. And don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. I've done my time. You were there with me. There was a time when nobody could find me without a cigarette in my mouth. I smoked menthol American spirits before anybody knew they existed, right?
Before they were hipster cigarettes, yeah.
Before they were hipster cigarettes, Karma Cheese smoked them, right? I loved smoking blunts. I rolled hella blunts. I was known as Thunderlow, right? That was all, right? I was the first guy to tell everybody to do shrooms, right? 1995, right? Rap, freestyling on acid, all that. Okay, so I go the level. But at an age, at a certain age, we got to apply discipline and think about family. I take care of my mom. I used to take care of my father with Alzheimer. I'm very motivated by being there for my family. I love my wife dearly. I want to be there for her. I know you have kids. That's what it's about. And we have to communicate that in a different way that's not judgmental. So when I see somebody like Tyson Fury just motivate his own mind and say, I go to the gym to keep myself in check. I don't know. It's kind of like, do you watch Westworld?
I have not seen it. It's on my list.
You have it.
I know.
There's just this great scene that happened last. You know what I'm talking about? Did someone tell you about the scene this last week where he's dealing with all his different personalities? Oh my God! That just
don't tell me. I haven't seen.
That's
the
what
show.
Martial arts does for me. It keeps them in check. So, and then Deontay Wilder to be a sometimey average basketball player, walk off the court, go into a boxing gym, and turn into an Olympic finalist, and then just go in and knock everybody out, and then get on and then be in interviews like, to this day, educating the world about the effects of slavery and racism. How can you not? How can you not?
And you know what's interesting about that about you talking about him walking off a basketball court? I remember there was a show on one of the ESPNs, maybe 10, maybe even 15 years ago, where they were talking about how we're losing a lot of black heavyweight fighters and black fighters in general to basketball.
Yeah, and football, same.
And football, yeah.
Right. Because why would you want to? Because the injury rate is what, 99%, right? The fatality rate, they're not being honest, right? Like what? And nobody ends up paid afterwards, right? Everybody tells the story about how they lost it all. So what's the ROI on that? I mean, and then you look at these dudes like are you a football fan?
Huge.
Okay, what's the guy who retired who's talking about he could fight a wolf and win?
Oh shit! I don't know who said that.
You know what I'm talking
about? What asshole said that?
No, he said that. He said if he fought a wolf, he would kill him.
I don't know. As a football player,
prolific.
black dude.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, let me look it up. Let me look it up. While I'm looking this up,
was it like Adrian something? Does that sound familiar?
Not Adrian Peterson. No, he's still playing.
No,
Adrian Peterson.
Not Adrian Peterson. What was it? I'm gonna find this. That's why the internet's here for it. What's his name?
Right now. Actually, one thing I do want to ask you is another thing we were talking about. Arian Foster.
Arian
Yes,
Foster.
Arian Foster.
Okay. So I don't watch football because here's my thing. I hate football.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I grew up in a house. My dad loved football. That was his UFC. I hate football. I hate football because I think that the teams have done disastrous mind control to Bay Area residents and has done terrible economics to Bay Area residents.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised when the Raiders were leaving. I told everybody they were going to leave. I told people the Niners are going to build a stadium and out where you couldn't get to. Nobody wanted to hear me. I also hate how much my relatives will fight in my backyard over Niners versus Raiders. Anyways. But
I've never understood that. Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, I guess, is good.
Or Arian Foster. He was.
Adrian Foster is good.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah.
This guy's dedicated his whole life. He won't let his kid play football. His attitude is.
I saw that.
Right. So that tells me everything. That tells me everything.
I saw that, and he's not the only football player that says that.
That tells me everything.
And it's interesting that with the shutdown of all sports, we now are watching old games. There's cats watching old fights. There's cats watching old everything, right? Because you can't watch anything now.
Right.
And it's interesting that one of the conversations that just isn't happening is the concussion conversation with the NFL. And they tried really hard the past couple seasons to really, really police the plays that were the money-making plays. The guy running across the middle that gets his bell rung, that makes all the highlight shows.
Yeah, they're not even dealing with reality about what's the cause.
It's too. Football is an extremely violent sport. I think football is more violent than boxing.
Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Do you watch that show All for Nothing? Or All or Nothing?
No.
The sports show? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Watch the one on the rugby team, the All Blacks, which is the international team of New Zealand, where my family is from. And they are like, probably in terms of rugby, which is where we got football from, they are the most undefeated. They are like the one with the most rings. Okay?
Yeah.
Why does the sport of rugby, and you watch the sport, you watch them collide, why do they have like 1,000% less concussion rate? When you watch this documentary, you understand that.
I need to watch that because I want to know why. Because rugby's an insane sport.
Yeah, I think football is a fundamentally racist sport.
Word.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can ride with that one.
Okay.
I think there's fundamentally racist people in football.
Okay, so how many black people own a team?
None, from my understanding.
Did you know 20% of the UFC is owned by black people?
I did not know that.
Most people don't. The Weeknd, LL Cool J, I always tell this story. The Williams sisters, Tyler Perry.
I didn't know they had any ownership interest at all.
Right. That's why I ride for them. Okay. Artie Moreno at one time owned the California Angels. We know a couple basketball teams. Why is a sport that is dominated by people who look like us never allowed us to own a team? Fundamentally racist.
Hey, I'm not saying that there isn't an extremely racist element in the game because of the whole Kaepernick shit, right?
Well, even before that, the game is really a simulation for war. It's to train you to go to war. It's to train you to take your team, your army, and get over the trench and get into the enemy territory, right?
Yeah.
So if you're willing to pile up black and Polynesian and Latino bodies to do it, you don't care. I'll spend them out. Hey, he got a concussion? Have him lay down for a minute. Have some Gatorade. He'll be back up in a minute. I don't care. Oh my God. My golden boy quarterback, Oh my God. Oh, Tom's hurt. Let's take care of him. The best money that he can buy. Right?
There is, look, this is what I'll say in a
Brady
mild defense.
Tom Brady gets hurt, put him back in the game. Let's call the cavalry. We need to save him. We need to take care of him. Right?
I think the same thing would happen if a guy like Lamar Jackson got hurt, who's a quarterback for the Ravens that just won the MVP. I think your valuable people, will pay money for.
The data, follow it for me. Mm-hmm. Follow it for me. This is what I challenge my podcasting sports friends. Show me the data. Let's go when the season starts. Show me the data. Follow this for 2 years and show me a trend.
As far
Where's
as
it at? Show me every time. Let's look at the core.
Well, first of all, it's in numbers. It's just about look at. I'll give you a perfect example.
Raw numbers.
I'll give you a perfect example. Real life example. We'll make it local. Bill Walsh, who was the coach, and he had GM power towards the end of his time in San Francisco, let go a Joe Montana that played for like 2 or 3 more years. Kind of kicked him to the curb. That was Bill Walsh's thing. His thing was like, I'd rather let you go when you're good on your way down than have to deal with you when you're kind of a shell of what you were. Bill Walsh had no problem kicking people to the curb regardless of color.
Okay.
And I think I'm agreeing with you that there are fundamentally racist elements to football outside of team names. I'm talking about the way the league kind of
I know this is your sport, so you're like, look, I know they all do that. Your immune system comes up.
No.
Sweet. I gotta protect
it's when they all unilaterally combined to destroy the career of Colin Kaepernick for, in my opinion, a very benign protest.
Leave that out. That's not even an anomaly. Let's just leave it out. Let's leave it out. Can you tell me what the plan was for the 2020 Combine?
As far as
where was it at?
Oh, what they were going to... I don't think they did it, right? Oh, no, they did do it.
They didn't do it. Well, no, they were going to do it. What was the plan? Where was it going to be at?
No, they did it. Indianapolis, where it always is.
No, they were going to do it in Vegas.
They were going to do the draft in Vegas.
Okay, the draft. How are players going to be presented? On boats. On boats, bro.
Well, the first player chosen was going to be white.
Bro, on boats.
He was going to be white. First guy was going to be Joe Barrow. He's going to be white. He's pretty fucking white.
On boats.
I get it. There is a very
uncomfortable... at the baseline. Fundamentally racist.
There are things in football, and this is where I get kind of like sports in general. Let's just be honest. Across the board, there's a lot of racist elements in sports, right? You got basketball where they just kind of go, we'll let you do your thing and wear your little protest shirts, but we're really not going to do anything. LeBron wants to have a shirt that says I can't breathe. Yeah, we'll let you do that, but LeBron's not really going to flex on us. To call out.
Jordan owns the what? Jordan owns which one?
I think he's a GM. Hornets? He's a GM. I don't think he's not the owner.
But he's a GM. But he owns a piece
there's
of
black.
There's ownership. We know.
There's some ownership.
Usher owns some of the Cavaliers, right?
He's a very small minority, like 1%.
But that's still enough. We're talking no percent of the NFL. Oneezy. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm like.
But here's my thing.
Boats, cut our hair and fundamentally, and then have us bashing our brains, make us say ignorant stuff on the camera. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can say that about any sport.
And to quote my my good brother, they trying to hurt your chicken. They trying to take your chicken over and over and over again.
Oh, and to be so, Michael Jordan is a majority owner of the Hornets. You are correct.
Majority, bro. Majority. This is what I'm saying. So this is the way. This is quarantine time we need to think about. Let's talk big picture. As much money as we put into these sports. And I'm just, again, I don't watch football, basketball, baseball. But what if we're going to put our money into these things, shouldn't we be seeing some of that come back? And I know there's some fiction to that. It's not like Michael Jordan's coming to Southside Chicago spending money, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. He don't identify with us. But at least we can understand that LeBron was like, oh, I will stay here with Cavaliers if you give me ownership. You're not going to give me ownership? Bye, I'm going to the Lakers. They're going to give me ownership. I get it. Right? I'm just talking about from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes. I look at it like some music stuff. Right?
If you want to talk about like Chuck D was on Talib Kweli's podcast. It was actually a really interesting interview. And Chuck D talked about when he did Yo Bum Rush the show, they were like, yo, we were bum rushing all of the show. Like, This dude's a writer. This dude's an A&R now. Like, we're getting our people in the door. And for sports, again, to your point,
people forget that they were doing that as an Israeli, right? Mm-hmm. Lior Cohen was leading the charge to help them bum rush that. You see what I mean? They had a quarterback that was punching through, right? And making sure they had those moments. Oh, you're going to open up for you too. Right?
Which is so insane.
And you look at the people who did all the pictures for them, right? Ernie Piccoli and all that stuff. How that transforms or what, I don't know. And it's rough because, I used to really respect Russell Simmons. And then I heard all this creepy stuff about he was doing. You know what I mean?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But and it's like Def Jam was like the Harvard of music, of hip hop music for us. My point being, the people who came out of that, the doors and the places that they were able to go, the platforms that came out of that. We got us our Dame Dashes and our Jay-Z's. We got us our, Rough Riders. We got us our Wu-Tangs and RZAs. We got these other ownership and ability to influence and make positive things for our community now. Me.
Yeah,
I had a West Coast Def Jam job.
It's interesting.
So, I mean, Arista sure wasn't hiring my ass.
It's interesting. You know what I mean? It's interesting that you use that analogy, the hip hop to sports analogy, because one thing that we don't see in all sports is ownership of color. I think there's like one owner of color in football, and he's Persian. I don't know if he's from India. I had Ahmed Khan, I think is his name. He owns the Jaguars. And I couldn't tell you if there's any owners of color in baseball. I don't think so.
Look this up.
Right. It's just it's one of those things where I think this next generation, that's going to change, because the athlete that's making all this money, granted, they are spending it on some frivolous stuff like anybody would do if they had that much extra money. But I also think they see the bigger picture. Like Magic Johnson being part of the ownership team that bought the Dodgers for like $2 billion.
Right.
We never would have saw that in the 70s and even the 80s and probably even the 90s. So I think these guys now, as they're accumulating all this wealth, and now we're saying things like your brand, and someone's asking them, what's the big picture for you? And when you're LeBron James, what is your big picture? You dominated.
Khan.
You got your.
His name is Shahid Khan, and he's Pakistani.
Pakistani owns it, and he owns the Jaguars.
And he owns AEW. I'm not a big fan of pro wrestling, but he owns the pro wrestling that all the people who are like who think that that's more honest wrestling for adults. He owns that too.
If we had more time, I would also like to talk to you about the pro wrestling rabbit hole that I fell down in the Dark Side show on YouTube. I found. Have you seen that?
I'm considering watching it from my old school era because all the guys I liked. The other piece of it is, do you know who Eric Weinstein is?
Oh, the right wing douchebag.
He's not right wing, right? He's like super
Yeah, he
left
is.
wing.
No, he's not.
He's
part of the intellectual dark. He's part of the intellectual dark web.
He started that name. He's not right wing, dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's not right wing. He's not right wing, bro.
Yeah, he is. Anyway,
I can't wait. I can't wait to have this debate. I can't wait.
Why?
What makes him right wing? Give me
Eric Weinstein. That's part of the intellectual dark web. What makes him not right wing?
Okay, give me
because he doesn't like Donald Trump.
No,
he doesn't like Donald Trump.
Give me 3 characteristics of the right wing.
He's a little hawkish.
No, not him. I'm just saying. What does right wing mean? What does right wing mean? Let's unpack this. What does that mean? What are characteristics of right wing? Who have we seen in the world that's right wing? Let's leave Trump out of this. Who's right wing in history?
Erdogan, Duterte. Sure. We're actually talking like far right dictators. Are we talking about just pundits?
So right.
You just want to talk like just pundits?
So far right. So
pundits.
Fascist.
So pundits.
Right.
No. Let's talk pundits. Let's just talk pundits. Let's get out of. Let's get
an example for our listeners. What is a right wing? What is right wing?
Sam Harris.
No. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's so ignorant.
He's not.
You're so smart, dude. This is so ignorant.
Sam Harris is not. The man that gave a platform to Murray, who wrote The Bell Curve, is not? Come on, man.
What is right?
Sam Harris is the biggest hater of Islam around.
I'm not sure that's true. I'm going to ask you again because I'm trying to help you. Can you please give me, see, this is why it's dangerous. Can you please give me 3 bullet points of what right wing means? I mean, I could go on Wikipedia, but that's not good. I want to know what your definition. Don't say Erdogan. Don't say anybody else. Tell me what right wing.
We're not going to talk dictators. Let's just talk pundits.
Is Stalin right wing?
Yes and no.
Okay. What makes Stalin right wing?
I mean, he definitely was very controlling.
So anybody who controls is right wing. Got it. What makes him
not necessarily? No, not necessarily. It's look. We're not gonna. You're not gonna do this thing where you go, okay, I'm looking for my bullet point. You're gonna give it to me. Let's get out of dictators. If you want to have this conversation.
No. Here's what I'll say.
Hold on. If we were going to talk about Eric Weinstein and the crew of people that he is with that are part of the introduction to far rightism, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, Eric Weinstein,
Brett Weinstein, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan is like pot. If those guys are hard drugs, Joe Rogan is like not even pot. Joe Rogan is like the first beer that your parents give you. But he doesn't have a real ideology.
But they're all put together by Joe Rogan. So first of all, if you had...
I don't know. No, they're not put... He gives them the platform.
No, he was put together because he interviewed Brett Weinstein. I'm telling you, bro. I'm deep in this.
I watched the interview.
He interviewed Brett Weinstein, who introduced him to Eric Weinstein. Now, Eric Weinstein actually is super leftist and has openly talked about how his boss... Peter Thiel, who is hella Republican, is like, why do I give you money for you to put money against me? Okay? Super leftist. So
Peter Thiel is like a super libertarian.
No, and Republican. And super Republican.
I've been in a room with Peter Thiel is speaking where I had to sign the non-disclosure agreement. And Peter Thiel is one of those cats that if you heard him talk, if me and you were in a room and heard Peter Thiel talk, we would agree with a lot of the shit that he had to say. And then when we know that, that guy really shits on the First Amendment when it's convenient for him and does some other really dirty dealings when he talks about money. But
as most billionaires do, and then we'll also talk about when you and I become billionaires, let's come back and listen to this podcast and check. Remember, it's that hip hop thing again. It sounded good then. Do we still believe it, right? All I'm just saying is this. Okay, let's go back to the Eric Weinstein thing. What I was trying to get a point. One of the things that he wrote an article about a long time ago is how kayfabe, do you know that concept?
Kayfabe?
Yes. Okay.
Explain it real quick.
You're an old school wrestler fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, yes. Okay, now I know what it is. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So let's explain it for the listeners. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
When I was a kid, Roddy Ronnie.
Or no, right now. Or of all time.
Right now? Oh.
Yeah. From kid
Roddy.
to now.
Roddy. Yeah.
Roddy Piper,
definitely.
I love you.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So Roddy Piper played a heel, which means he's a villain, right?
Yes.
And he had a long-standing beef with Hulk Hogan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Behind closed doors, him and Hulk Hogan were hanging out all the time. Right?
Yeah.
You can never be seen traveling together because that would break kayfabe.
Mm-hmm.
That's kayfabe, right?
Yeah.
What Eric Weinstein talks about is how kayfabe in institutional learning places like colleges, politics, finance, how kayfabe is used, that you believe that people are actually opposing viewpoints, but they're colluding in secret to give you the outcome that you want. And he also talks about how Donald Trump uses kayfabe and wrestling tactics as a superpower to manipulate crowds, like a cult leader.
There is a good article.
That was my connection.
There's a good article that Matt Taibbi wrote about Trump.
Yes.
Where he talks about the whole WWE.
Yes.
Connection with Trump and how he kind of uses the whole heel thing. No, dude, I write about Trump using the WWE heel thing. Like, I get that to a certain degree. And I'm trying to remember exactly why dude's brother quit. Because I vaguely remember why his brother left. Yeah, why he left Evergreen.
Because they wanted him to say, as somebody who has a PhD in biology, they wanted him to say, as a college educator, that there was no biological merit for gender.
That's what it was. Wasn't he mad about using gender pronouns in his class for his students?
Not mad. Being told he was forced to use it, and if he didn't, that his students were allowed to troll him.
Because that's the whole thing, and I don't really want to, go down that whole.
Yeah, because I'm not sure
hole.
I understand enough.
I don't want to go down it because that's okay. So I remember that, and that was around the same time that Jordan Peterson started. He made his bones pretty much by saying, "I'm not going to call somebody what they're genetically not," and
right. And you know what? You can't force me to do it. Right. That's what starts.
Joe Rogan, and this is what I'll say about Joe Rogan. And he isn't the intellectual dude to have those conversations with those dudes. And
his
he
job
gives
is
them a
to
platform.
Facilitate them. That's what let's put it this way. Joe Rogan.
Uh-huh.
Joe Rogan is the sway of discourse for our generation. And it's weird. I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. I respect him.
No, you're right.
I like him a lot.
Right.
I also feel conflicted because, as you know, everybody in the Bay Area keeps jokingly calling me the Black Joe Rogan. So it's like, you know what I
mean? Like, should I be offended by that? Joe Rogan holds attention for 3 hours very well. He has conversations with these people for 3 hours very well. A lot of it's because he doesn't push back too hard.
Well, also, what he does, he's gotten into some yelling matches, but also I think he approaches it like a martial artist, which is, if you can prove it to me, I should shut up and let it happen, and let's see if that's true. Let's ask multiple questions from multiple aspects to see if that's true.
Like, he's got a couple episodes that are great when he clowns Dave Rubin. And I don't think he's trying to be a dick in these episodes.
I haven't even listened to that one. I'm going to go and listen to the Dave Rubin one, though.
Yeah, the Dave Rubin one is huge because Dave Rubin is a big... He was on, like, Young Turks and was of the left.
Yeah.
He found out there was no money to be made on the left and made a hard turn to the right.
And also, he understood that Young Turks plays kayfabe. Yes? Or no?
No.
No.
I'm on the... You know what? Here, look. I'm on the fence about you. I don't agree with everything that Cenk Uygur says. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that Cenk Uygur says on Young Turks. And I don't like a lot of the way they it almost feels like pro wrestling when you watch the Young Turks.
That's my point, that you know that they're taking a viewpoint. And when the cameras go off, hey, good job, Trump guys. Great. We did a great job. You know, they're pretending they're on opposing view. It's back to Jon Stewart getting in the ass of the guys on Crossfire, right? You're hacks, right? You're hacks. You're pretending you're opposing viewpoints, but you're really controlling the narrative to get people to see what you want to see.
Or, and this is the way I see it, or are you just trying to do what the right does for a progressive? And I think to that point, the right has a really easy ethos. We are anti anything our other side says. Whatever it is, we're anti.
No, not even that. Not even that. We are not going to let go of power.
That too.
And that is what I would call totalitarian, and that's far right to me. Right? If you oppose me, I will put bodies in the fucking ground to keep power. Right?
Yeah.
Pot pole, Stalin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The flip side of that, the heads to that tails, is that far left danger, right? Which is, I will do anything to get in power. And that's your Hitlers. You know what I mean? That's shit like that. Like, I will say and do anything to be right.
Yeah.
To get there. And that's the shit that makes me fucking nervous. And again, you know, I have these
who's disingenuous and who's actually like serious, like those kind of
absolutely, and both sides.
Because you're right. I mean, you look at Haiti and the Duvalier regime.
Come on, bro. And then on top of which, and then people are surprised about what happened with the Clinton election, where it's like, have you talked to a Haitian? Do you have any idea what the brand?
Exactly.
Have you talked to my friends and understood their experience, right? Or as you and I, the unpopular opinion. How can you be black and vote Republican? Have you been to the South? Have you been to the South? Right? So to say these things and try to apply these hashtags to people is so, it's so short-sighted and ugly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's what I was trying to get across. Another thing that I will say, I can't say that I've listened to a lot of Sam Harris. What I have listened to about Sam Harris is that he brought a guy on his show who was a early member of the jihadist movement going back to the Bosnia massacres, who is on multiple world watch lists as a former jihadist Arab Brotherhood member. But then also, he is on the list by the Southern Poverty Center in the United States as being anti-Muslim.
Yeah.
In my mind, to bring that argument up does not make him... I see him as somebody who is trying to remove the clouds and the hatred and the ignorance around Islam by clarifying and bringing...
That is not Sam Harris at all. I'll send you some Sam Harris clips where he does these bullshit thought experiments. He's definitely a hawk. Sam Harris got He got popular being part of that quote unquote new atheist movement when Christopher Hitchens made that far right turn when he went from being like super big time Marxist to kind of super big time war hawk.
Sure.
And it was like Hitchens and Sam Harris and then like kind of sort of Ben Shapiro.
Right.
But Ben Shapiro's not an atheist. Who else are they?
Ben Shapiro is
big time Jewish dude. But
I was gonna say, look, if you want your podcast to go anywhere, you just stop talking about that right now. You know what I mean? But again, let's put it this way: Ben Shapiro analogy comes into the battle talking about slapping people and shooting. The minute you start talking that way too, why are you guys getting violent? That's all I got to say about that, dude. And I'm from Berkeley, California. I grew up.
That's the best. That is the best analogy in the fucking world for that guy. He is hella that guy. But I also have to. That guy's the Fox News Drake. I mean, so. Damn. You just killed his whole life.
No, I mean, it's not killing it. It's just what I've always been very good at doing is pulling out the symbolism. And then I say, if you see it, right? Like, okay, what's the analogy?
Damn.
I'm going to find an analogy you would remember.
You called him Fox News Drake, and that is...
And I think that things are... Okay. I keep using this analogy. All right. You remember when I used to make people stop, like put mute on with music videos? And I'd say, I go, I dare you to watch this video with the mute on. And everyone would be like, God, this is really boring. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's, if you understand how to deconstruct the messages and the images and the propaganda in that way, you start understanding the effect is no longer powerful over you. And it's not to trash anybody. It's not to belittle them, but you understand that they're trying to put together something. It's no different than the stuff I used to do with people when I'd battle. You know, it's a logic argument. It's why to me, I still think Jay-Z beat Nas. The logic argument on Takeover is fact-based. There's no facts in ether. Right?
What is the consensus say about that?
I don't even go there with the consensus because they refuse to do criteria. That's what I learned about hip-hop. They're afraid of criteria. You go to the barbershop, you say, who won the battle? Nas versus... And then you say, okay, what are we using as a scorecard? Right? Because it's not like when you watch the game of the Golden State Warriors versus the Raptors, you go, in the finals, you go, oh, he kind of made the shot. I don't know if I was feeling the shot. I didn't really enjoy the shot. Well, look at it. Who made more shots? No. One score versus this. Here's the category. Somebody made X amount of 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. They added up and they had more of them. Have you noticed that?
No,
Have you noticed that? People will have this ignorant ass combo of Biggie versus Tupac, never put a criteria. Kobe versus Jordan, never put a criteria. I don't do that. I believe that is like a weapon sent to our community to destroy us.
I'm not a big fan of those conversations without some sort of like what are going to, like you said, what's the criteria? What are we judging this on? Because if we're not, then we're just going to be going off of our heart.
And that's what it is. It's on purpose. It's meant to be emotional. It's social media. It's early social media. So it's all hype.
I think Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder have made a very nice living on going to college campuses and just getting over emotional freshmen, flustered. Owning the libs.
And also, you and I understand their audience because we went to school with them.
Yeah.
And they're the ones when you and I work side jobs while we're going to high school, trying to save up money for college. And then they say, and we're staying up late at night studying for tests. And they're saying ignorant stuff about, I just can't get a break because I don't have affirmative action. And you're like, but
Oh God. I remember
but
those.
you have
yeah.
right, but you have a cocaine habit, and I'm saving up to go to Princeton Review, right? Okay, and you're driving to high school in a Volvo, and I rode 3 buses today, right? So at a certain point, we need to throw away our hashtags. We're not going to have really good dialogue with these individuals by saying that's your privilege, that's your ignorance. We have to understand that we have to speak a very common language and saying, you are making excuses and you want to make other people feel good about their excuses. And that's what you're doing. And if we see the light of day, if we pull up the rock and we see who scurries, that's what kind of stuff comes out with that. So, I mean, again, I want to have more of these conversations because I feel like I really do feel the Weinstein brothers are onto something, but I feel like it is part of legacy media to kind of tell you that that's what it is. But I can't, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I haven't listened to enough Sam Harris and I'm not really interested in him to even have that argument with you. But I will say we should listen to more Eric Weinstein. And when you start seeing the stuff he exposes or he talks about, like, that guy thinks that the secret of American innovation is what happens in Harlem.
That's the same thing Peter Thiel says, though.
Right? Are they wrong?
I've heard. Peter Thiel.
Are they wrong?
Yeah.
That he works for Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
But are they wrong? Are they wrong? My dear friend, are they wrong? Are they wrong?
It's. We don't have time. We don't have time to unpack. We don't have time to unpack.
Are they wrong?
Yes.
They're wrong.
We don't have time. We don't have time to unpack the problematic nature of those two individuals. With the time we have left, we have to have a whole show.
We'll schedule that for the
next one. You have to have a whole show dedicated to unpacking the problematic nature of those individuals.
Let's talk about, like I said, all people are problematic. Let's talk about this. Let's do this real quick. I don't want to know who the best is. I want to know who your favorite is. Favorite rapper.
I don't know.
Not who you listen to the most over time. Favorite.
I don't know. I wish you asked me a different question.
Okay.
Right now, it's my favorite rapper right now is, oh shit. Yeah, I don't know, man. You fucked me up on that one.
Okay, let's
Chuck D. Okay.
Chuck D, amazing ideas, right? Amazing ideas. The guy standing next to him. But it wouldn't be honest without it, right? Yeah. So if we want to talk about that, we have to accept the problematic nature of it because we're humans, right? My favorite, Ghostface Killer. That's not going to change. You know that. Everyone knows that about me. Everyone knows that about me since I was a kid. Favorite, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? Ghostface says a lot of crazy shit. He also talks about selling drugs and throwing people off airplanes.
Yeah, he does.
Favorite metal band of your big four.
Ooh, Megadeth. Dave Mustaine is problematic as fuck to the point where I can't listen to anything.
You knew where I was going. So how dare... No, let me not say that. Let's be careful about applying the dismissive lens because I think the cancel culture is the biggest cancer to us all because it is asking you to install a hypocrisy, a selective, moral relativism. You know what that is?
Okay, let me tell you this. Yes, I do know what that is.
When in Rome.
And I was in the middle of that shit because my band, the last big tour we went on before everything shut down, we were on a tour with a younger band that was in that world of canceling people. And you do have to have a more nuanced discussion about certain things. Like you can't just say, like, for example, you can't just say, I don't like this person because I heard they do blah, or I don't like this person because they're doing this thing. It's like, it needs to be a little more nuanced. And when I say I don't like Sam Harris, I understand though why some people do like him. Like we also had a guy in our band for a minute that was a bit of a Sam Harris fan. And I called him out and I was like, you know what? I don't like Sam Harris because I think he's racist. And he's like, what does he say? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, well, you know what? When you give Charles Murray this huge platform and you start having these bullshit thought experiments about the bell curve, which is an extremely racist book, and then Murray wrote another book more racist than the bell curve.
I think we should have a second podcast about this. One thing I want to say, it is highly possible. Okay, how do I want to put this? If I take a piece of metal, no, better analogy. There are books we never would have read if not for hip hop, right?
Yes.
You and I both know that there are friends of ours who would have never started pimping if it wasn't for hip hop as well, right?
Doing drugs, yeah.
Doing drugs, selling drugs, slapping people, right?
Yeah,
tools are tools, right? Tools are tools, right? And the weak or the strong mind that grabs them will take them that way. The bell curve, if I apply it from an economic standpoint, has nothing to do with what Charles Murray is talking about. And it's what we call the 80-20 rule. But I have studied at length how racists have taken the Charles Murray's work and use it for racist genetics. We can't even talk about genetics anymore. People are so afraid of it. But it's true. It's why people, again, it's back to how we started the podcast. It's why people don't want to talk about diet. It's like if your parents grew up eating a certain way, it's really hard for you to understand that there's certain things you shouldn't probably eat. There's millions of years of genes, but we can't talk about that because
they're talking about they're talking about eugenics.
Some people are,
which is like, there's a reason why we don't do eugenics anymore. And again, if you really start breaking down,
that's true. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure. I still think that I still believe that eugenics is practiced in the world. And I think we're going to see a bunch of evidence about that in the next 5 years.
Because of all this vaccine stuff being tested on poor people.
It is possible that a item in the wrong hands. It's like, again, some things can be an Iron Man suit that can save us from Thanos, and some things can be a Justin Hammer. You know what I'm getting at?
I like that.
That's what I'm trying to get at, right?
I definitely think the intentions that Murray had were way more Justin Hammer than Tony Stark.
I don't know. I cannot speak to that. I will listen to it. What I can say is I have looked at that, and I can take, if we cross-reference the bell curve and we look at the stuff of Pareto and London and the 80-20 rule and those things from an economic standpoint, we can use these kind of concepts to develop neighborhoods of color and to change inequality. It's tools. But does that mean from the bell curve that Black people can't be physicists just because the bell curve shows that usually European Jews have a higher IQ? No, guess what? My Black-ass brother has a PhD in quantum physics.
But so that's the thing. You're using an IQ test.
Which is a flawed statement.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I can't wait to give you the podcast where Peter Thiel and Eric Weinstein talk about how flawed IQ is to detect that in people, especially, and how it's been used against people of color unfairly.
Look, I told you, I was in a room with Peter Thiel, and he's the guy.
Bro, you know what I used to do for a living. You know,
right? He's one of those guys that when he talks, you go, man, that makes sense. And then it takes you a while. You sit back and go, wait a minute. There was some layers to that maybe I wasn't understanding at first that are problematic. Wrestling, Hulk Hogan, what Peter Thiel did to destroy Gawker.
Which at the same time, yes, it's scary, but at the same time, do you feel that your business with your child and your spouse and all that should be on TV at all times? Right? You and I are not running for office. So so at the same time.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Oh my God. If I told you to stop and you won't, bro, you know me. You know me.
I'm gonna shut your ass down.
And I'm going to send a message. Do whatever you want. But when you come for my family, don't miss. Because I'm not going to when I clap back.
And on that note,
yeah, I can't argue with that. So I do agree, I do hear what you're saying. But speaking of Hogan, have you ever seen that moment where he pissed off Booker T?
We're gonna have to talk about that one on the next.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Hogan, we come.
Brett,
Did you have fun?
I had a blast.
Okay,
we have to do this again.
So one of the things I've been hinting at, and I'm just
wait a minute. You got one. Oh, all right. We're about to time. Yeah, we got 30 seconds.
Okay, check us out at Cage Against on Instagram, Cage Against on Facebook. We do a group. We do a monthly podcast about UFC. We talk about the interconnection between people of color, martial arts, wellness, and mental health. Check us out. I'll definitely be back. And it's my promise to all you listeners, I'm going to get this show grown. I'm building my own podcast network. I'm doing my own thing. We're gonna get this show growing. So
I love it.
Stay tuned.
Peace. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Don't hang up.